Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I was getting started on another episode of What's Broke Today. And today I have a 1953. It's a Chevrolet. It's a 3600 pickup, or basically a three-quarter ton. Um, Lots of pretty patina on it. It is here today because they want me to get it running. And the good, maybe bad news is it was running. I don't know how long ago because the son of the owner is the one that dropped it off. But the cool story on this truck is it's Grandpa's truck. Grandpa's always wanted a 1953 Chevrolet pickup. I'll have to talk to him and figure out why. But regardless, his grandson found this and bought it for him. And I don't really know what the whole game plan is, other than right now to get the engine running. We're not going to be able to drive it because the tires are so dry rotted that I may come out here and try and put some air in them, see if they might hold air, because these have the old split rims, so there's tubes in the tires. So the tubes may hold air. I just hope the tires don't blow up. So don't know, but I'm not going to air the tires up till I hear the motor run. And I think what we're going to start out with is almost if the motor will turn over. And he says it's got a good battery. So we'll probably raise the hood. Let's check the oil and then get inside and see if the motor will even turn over. Okay, so come over here and pull the engine oil dipstick out, which, let's see. And what touches the dipstick is clean. Back out, and regardless, we do need to add oil, but what oil is in it looks brand new. Um, and I'm probably going to just put some 10W30 in this to get started. Well, once I get ready to actually crank it and make it run. But all these old engines, um, when we add oil, we need to put oil with zinc in it because, this has a flat tappet cam, and um, our modern oils, uh, most of them don't have zinc in it. So, but it does kind of look like somebody may have tried to tune this up because I see new spark plugs. Looks like new wires, new cap. Some of this wiring has been redone. I'm sure that coil is newer than what was originally on here. Um, yeah, so somebody's been doing something to it trying to get it going. I mean, lower radiator hose has a modern tag on it. Upper radiator hose and aluminum radiator looks good. I'm gonna guess that's water pump's been changed, and I'm gonna say this is probably because in '53 you could get a 215 or no, a 217 cubic inch six cylinder or a 235 cubic inch. And I'm gonna say this is a 217 because if memory serves me right, when the tappet cover on the side comes clear up to the rocker cover and up around the spark plugs, those are the 217s. And the ones that had just the cover over the tappets were the 235s. But I could be wrong on that, so don't hold me to it. And as we look inside, I pulled the battery cover off, and battery doesn't look real good. Let me put the negative cable back on. And Oh, and here we go. It's got new champion plugs, I'd say, because I feel weight in here. Oh, yeah. And of course, they took out the AC plugs, which antique, but there they are. Let's see. Here is the condenser, DR158. It's a box with a dirt dauber's nest in it. Oh, and that's got a rotor in it. Yeah, that's got the original rotor, probably. So, and that that was probably the points. I don't see a box for the distributor cap, but it looked new as well. So, the only thing I see that he didn't bring me was a key. But I don't know if we need too much to jump that switch. I'll look over here on the floor, some kind of little scoop thingy, a sponge, the cover that goes over the brake master cylinder hole is what that looks like. Floorboards are pretty rusty. Wiring going up to the steering column don't look very good at all. T and C, so I'm sure, imagine T is temperature, C is probably choke. It looks like headlights, which that does not move. And of course, even though I don't have the key, this doesn't use a key to crank it. It's got a push button on the floor. So hey, it does crank. Looks like the ashtray. So I got to figure out about the key. Filler neck don't look too bad. And I'm going to guess, looking at that tank, it is not original because it is not rusty like everything else around it. So, and doesn't smell great, but doesn't smell that bad either. Okay, I'm going to try and work around this with my camera magneted to the fender. But I thought I'd look inside the distributor, pull the cap off, and looking inside the cap at the contacts, I'd say this thing probably has not run since the cap was put on. I'm going to get a pen light, look down here at the points, and you can see how close I am to a lobe. Oh, well, shit. The rotor is not even attached. Oh, well, it wasn't all the way down on. Let's see, yeah, that's a short rotor. And I'm going off of memory because it's probably been over 30 years since I've been under the hood of something of this age of truck. But I'm looking at this cap and looking at this rotor, and I don't think that's the right rotor for that cap because I think this is a tall cap and this is a short rotor. Because I put the rotor down on there, and let's see, I'll grab a deep well socket and we'll put it down on the top of the where the cap sits on the distributor, and kind of come across and go, yeah, because see, rotor don't even stick up an inch above the top of the distributor, but yet to carefully move around these wires. But if I put this up in here, man, to be up where I need to be, I need probably, an inch and a half. And yeah, so this thing would never run with that with that setup anyway because it doesn't line up. Now the question is let's look inside this cap. And yeah, it looks like it should sit down on that distributor right because it's got the right notch. So yeah. So I've got to check and see before I even actually go much farther. See if I can figure out and get the tall um, rotor or the short cap. See which one's available. And of course, this old stuff. I don't know that they ever put boots on the spark plug leads. Don't remember. And then. And of course, I see no coolant down in the radiator, so I might have to add coolant. Talking about the dirt dauber's nest on the fan blade. That's got to go. Okay, well, we're back at our 53 Chevy truck. And where I was going to start out today was with the distributor. And now I did find out that, and I might have said this earlier, that he had this running and he had it hooked up to his modern 12 volt truck. And if he had that one running, that's putting out 14 volts. So that could have very easily have burnt our points. So what I was going to do is check the points and see if this thing would spark. So I got the coil wire up here by the valve cover, which let me see if that's in view. And it is right down here. Let me pull that. I'll move that up a little higher. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be close, but regardless, and these old distributors, which I found a place to stick that where I got light where I want it. Now that might work. If you grab the outside of them, they twist. So I'll take my rotor off, and then I'm going to turn the motor. Yeah, see, that turns this way. Turn the motor to a point where when I turn the distributor, it'll open the points. And then luckily he brought me the key. So let me go turn the key on. Let's reach out here and turn the distributor and watch our coil wire up here. And I got nothing. So the next thing we'll do is I'll get my pocket knife out. Let's go down here and so we do have the ability to spark. But actually the points moving don't make it spark. So I went in, I shut the key off. I'll come here and find my feeler gauges. And this, unlike a lot of other things, depending on where you read, have all kinds of choices on point gaps. But for a 53, it looked like it was 15 to 21. So I'm gonna get a let's start out with a 16. Because as you change the point gap, that will also change the timing. So I get my light down there, and I want to stop this as soon as I'm up on a lobe. Okay, up on a lobe, and that is a super loose 16. So let's move up to, let's say, a 25. And that is still super loose. So let's go see what the thickest feeler gauge I got in my set is. And that is a 32 thousandths. So, and they're still bigger than 32. So I definitely got to close up the gap a little. So let me get back to, so if it's 15 to 21, I'm going to set them at 17. Well, maybe 18 because I don't have a 17 thousandths feeler gauge. And these are super simple to adjust. But I'm going to take 2 screwdrivers. I'm going to use one to loosen the lock nut or lock screw. And then the other one, there's this little cam deal. So I'm going to loosen the screw. I'll turn that and close them up a little. And we want just light friction. Now I'm still a little too wide. Let's try that. And also make sure, because since that will turn, make sure you're always on the high part of the lobe. That's not too bad at 18. And then the next thing I want to do is some emery cloth. So I'll open up here. It looks like there's a little corrosion down there anyway, and I'll pull those open. I'll stick my emery cloth in and see if I can just sand them a little. Okay, let's pull them back open and look. And that kind of shined them up a little. And then we'll finish them off with some 1200 grit sandpaper. And Yeah, probably do the trick. And add a little more so we're closed. Okay, got it where it'll open. I keep saying spark plug, but it's a coil wire. Let's. Okay, so now I gotta do is wait for the mail to run so I can get my my rotor, and we're ready to see if this thing will fire. All right, well, my new rotor showed up, and as you can see, noticeable difference in height. So I'm going to put the wrong one in my pocket. Take this one and put it down on there. And that does work. I can take my cap up here and snap it on. Take my one plug wire I pulled off and put it back down into the cap. Coil wire. Put it back into the cap. Okay. That fits really good. Okay, now we got our rotor in there. Everything put back together. I hooked the battery up. I don't know if there's fuel in the carburetor. The choke doesn't pull, so I'm just going to pump it a half a dozen times, and then let's crank. See what happens. Oh. Key on. Okay. Let me check the throttle because it don't have apparently have a return spring on it. So let's crank it. Okay. Oh, it was not engineered for tall people. So okay. I'm gonna guess there's no fuel in the carburetor. Okay, that out of the way. So here we go. Let's see what it does now. Oh, key on. Almost cranks like it's out of time. Now, since I know they've been messing with this, I think I'll look up the firing order and make sure it's right, because I kind of doubt that it's labeled on the cap. And I don't see any numbers because I've got 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. Okay, when I looked it up, firing order is correct. And I I just want to turn this over if I can. Okay, that's coming up on compression. Get our flashlight out. We'll shine it down in the hole. Watch the piston come up. Okay, well, that's pretty close. So is the rotor pointing toward that direction? No. His is pointed to this one. So I'm just going to pull that out and then just move all of these around. One. Now I was suspecting that because when I looked this up on my phone, it did show number 1 being out here. Okay. Even though that plug has burnt some gas, I don't know if it's good gas, but it has run with that plug in it. Now let's try this again. Okay. I did hear it fire. Give her some more starting juice. Okay. Now I got my, I'm gonna stay on the key. So just in case it starts and goes to over rev, I can shut it off. It's real easy to push that pedal down. I'll give her a better squirt. Can that has a red straw. And this is a bowl vent. Okay. Make sure that's idled down. Okay. And let's get a couple of wrenches and take that fuel line loose. See if we're pumping gas. Tank could be empty. I never did the gauge says it's full, but that don't always mean a whole lot on something old like this. Oh, yeah. Nothing running out of that line, so that's a good indication that it isn't pumping anything. dry and crusty in that fuel pump. So I think I'll look up a fuel pump and maybe a carburetor kit. We're in the process of getting ready to put the new fuel pump on. And even though I blew out the lines, I think I want to install an inline filter here in the fuel line. So I was going to clean this off and see how rusty the steel line is on the outside. And I don't know, it's rusty as much as it is crusty. Let me get my scraper. Don't look too bad. I normally wouldn't put the fuel filter on the gas tank side, but because this is, I don't know what, the tank isn't perfectly clean. I'm gonna come down here where it's kind of straight and figure out how to come up a little ways so I have room to slide my hose down on where I cleaned. Okay, that cut off, and this line doesn't seem to, looking at it, doesn't flare in like, when you cut some of the newer modern line, it will, it really crimps it down. Oh. Thought deer season was over, but that sounded like a deer rifle. Our next step is our old fuel pump. I took the fittings out that were screwed in the side of it. I got to move them to the new pump. And that's mainly because the threads in there will not accept, this flare. It won't even go in the hole. So I cleaned them up and then put some Teflon thread tape on them. And I can put them in here and tighten them down. I got that ready. Now another thing, that effective width of across the pump's about the same, so that's good. Now the next thing got to do is I got my filter. I added a couple pieces of hose, and I'm going to end up actually cutting this thing. I'm going to guess. I think I'm going to do it right near that elbow, right there. That'll give me plenty of room to slide the hose up and clamp it. I probably cut a little bit off that hose. And I'm just taking and cutting that off. I'm not going to worry about doing anything till the end of it. Maybe I got to clamp it good because this is going to be suction. If there was pressure, I'd want to kind of bubble the end of that with my flaring tool a little to give something for it to, so that it can't slide off once I get the clamp tight. But considering this is suction, I think this will be just fine, and probably going to end up with that hose almost all the way up to the fitting anyway. So, but we'll figure that out once we get to installing everything. But next thing that's got to go on is our pump. Of course, I got a new gasket. And I'm going to take my scraper and scrape the block real quick just to make sure that it's, I got all the old gasket, even though it looks like it's on that pump. All right, well, we've got longer bolts. I'll drop my fuel pump down here around our heater hoses. Put it up in the opening. And I just got a socket put on the end of a nut driver kind of thing. I'm going to end up dropping things because the nut driver thing's almost a little too long. Looks like I got the first one started. But move. The other thing I've noticed in here is I got to deal with the angle of that fuel pipe coming off of it, because it's at a different angle than what I was at originally. Okay. That's on there now. All right. Well, I put about 3 gallons of gas in the truck. I added about 1.5 quarts of oil. Still got to put coolant in it. So I was going to start it and let it run just a little bit before I did that. But before I cranked it, I put gas in an old little bottle here where I could come up here and try and fill the carburetor. But that might be easier said than done. Okay. Then get this away from the truck. Now the choke is open. Oh. I'll turn the key on and then crank it. Okay. Carburetor may not be flowing any fuel. So let me make sure the throttle's closed. Oh, hold it. But it is pumping because I do have fuel. I forgot I left my line loose so it could pump fuel. Oh, the dang dirt daubers. I did order a carburetor kit because I figure I'm going to have to go through the carburetor. But I was going to try and get it started first. See if at least it might idle. Okay. That's probably more fuel than we needed. Hey, look at that. Man, that actually sounds pretty doggone good. Got some very minimal noise from the tappet. I pushed the choke in all the way. Because when I looked here previously, there was no coolant in the radiator. So I already had some mixed up ready to go in. Okay, there's 1.5 gallons or so in the radiator. And of course it's bubbling, so it's going to need a little more. But uh, well, it's going to need more than just a little more, because the water pump's going to have to come off, because it's a leaking. Question is there a chance they didn't get the bolts tight? Because it looks like it's leaking in between the engine and the water pump. No, it's not tight. Well, the 2 bolts on this side were excessively loose. Well, we got the 53 Chevy where it starts, it runs. Started without having to use starting fluid. That surprised the carburetor works as well as it did, because I come out here the other day when, I don't know, it's probably around 40 degrees, just to fire it up and see if me tightening those bolts on the water pump would fix the coolant leak where the water pump was bolted up to the motor. And I'm going to guess that they didn't get all the old gasket cleared off, or they may have just put up there with just some silicone, and they use that, I don't know, the blue type of silicone. I don't ever use that on an engine. I mean, it don't matter what kind, type, brand, blue silicone. It just doesn't seem to work for me, so I don't use it. But I'm going to end the video on getting it running. In the next video, we're going to work on the coolant leaks, or the gaskets, where it's leaking. And I want to get the throttle spring hooked up. And then we're also going to have to get it up on the concrete, get it up on jack stands, pull all the wheels, and start working on the brakes. So we're going to have videos on all kinds of stuff on this truck. And it may take a while, because this isn't something we're going to finish real quick. That we're going to work on it as the customer has money, because he's an older gentleman. He's on Social Security. He doesn't have a ton of money. I'm cutting him a break on his labor to help him out some. And then, we'll just slowly plug at it. This may take 6 or 8 months before we actually have this thing where you can actually take it and drive it and stop, but we'll see. But hey, I do appreciate you watching. I always like those thumbs up for the likes. That I do appreciate all those comments. I love reading them. And hey, anybody out there that's not a subscriber, better join on in, because there's no telling what else you're going to see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.